Legends of Tomorrow, Episode 15, Destiny. Now, this is the penultimate episode of the season, and it led to some pretty crazy moments. I think there were three really big factors in this episode. Of course, towards the very end, we actually end up losing a member of the team, and this is going to be permanent compared to Carter, who is now actually back on the team. But we actually lose Captain Cold. We lose Snart, and I thought that was very surprising. It was like, all right, we lose Heat Wave. I figured they would just change it with Ray. I was really surprised when they first did it that way, and he was like, this is basically it. Like, I can't put the helmet back on because the little thing comes out. And I was like, okay, so it's automatic. Like, there's no changing that. And then Mick kind of steps in. It's like, okay, that kind of makes sense. He had kind of his arcs and stuff like that. And I honestly thought it made sense that his story might be over. And then Snart comes in and he takes over, and I was like, that actually really surprised me. I was like, okay, the first sacrifice seemed like it made more sense because it felt like, and I guess that's probably a good thing. It shows that they have a really crazy plan because, especially with Heatwave, like just how his character has always been, he was the one who didn't say much or didn't really do much, and so even when he had his change from Kronos back to being Mick, and then tricking the Time Masters into them thinking that he was Kronos again. Even with that stuff, it was like, alright, he still hasn't changed that much, but they chose to keep him alive over, Snart, so that says something a lot to me, at least. And I'm excited where they choose to take his character for Season 2, but I was really surprised by that. They had the little scene with Snart and Sarah, and it's like, oh, they were the ones to rescue everybody this episode, and he's talking about, I've been thinking a lot about where I'm going, where you're going, and where you and I are going, even though obviously she's a lesbian, so I guess he was just like, I'll give it a shot, I don't know. But he got his, it was sort of a pity, because let's be honest, I mean, he was dying, it's like, alright, you're dying, and, we're cool, so she gave him, like, that kiss. But it was kind of surprising. It was surprising that they did it that way to me, and it was like they did the sacrifice once, and I was like, alright. And then they did the second sacrifice where he wouldn't let Mick die, so I'm kind of excited to see where they take it. I love the scene where everyone's kind of talking about him, and then they have just one shot of just Mick by himself, like right in the center, and I was like, this is just a good shot, because it was like, once again, with him not saying much, he doesn't have too many different expressions outside of angry and laughing, when he's fighting and stuff. But he looked sad, and at least as sad as he could look. So I was like, this is actually a really great shot. So I'm very excited to see where they go. It still sucks that happened, and it was very surprising. I was like, okay, they have that sort of future idea. I really thought the solution was Rip would say, like, this is where you die, and he just puts the mask on. I was like, because that's what I thought. I was like, oh, well, he can't burn him if he has the mask on and stuff. And, put the gloves back on, too. I thought that's honestly what I thought, plain and simple. I tell you this is how it happens, or like Rip would put his hand on the device, and then Ray would actually stop the entire machine, and it would be completely done. But it was like the failsafe was the failsafe, and that was it. So there was no way around it. We actually had to lose a member of the team. We had the good moment, out of that bit of tragedy, which is them destroying the Oculus, which we even find out. So I guess that makes four moments, because the other moment for me was the unfortunate fact that Rip still lost his family. Like, every time, like, we find out all the stuff with the Oculus and how all the characters have basically been manipulated this whole time. The Oculus tells us, the revelation of the Oculus kind of tells us, like, this is why everything was happening. We find out why the Time Masters were working with Vandal Savage, and it's because there's a whole other full-on alien race comes to Earth, and the only way that they can stop things is with Vandal Savage in complete and utter control. And I think Rip had a great response. Like, you're as crazy as him if you think he's the only answer. I mean, they have full-on superheroes. Like, no matter what, if they chose to go that route, they could have been like, look, we have heroes in this time and that time, and if instead of letting him do certain crazy stuff like the Predegaton thing and letting this crazy virus wipe out, that's pretty much what starts all the ultimate chaos, really. Instead of doing that, maybe just like round up some people with superpowers and say like, hey, super crazy, but you might want to train and teach every single generation to be good, because aliens are coming down. madness. But instead, it was like, let's just kill everybody and have him take over, because that's it. So, crazy revelation there, which still, made me hit all of them, because, like, that's, just like Rip said, like, that's who you chose. That was your one option. Like, this is the only way it could work. Destroy everybody and everything and let him take over. Like, that just doesn't make sense. But that was a great revelation. Um, and then, like I said, them going through that whole plan of destroying the Oculus, which was a great moment. It still ended with Rip, sitting in, like, the cargo bay, and it's like, I have to find out if my family lived or died. And they still died. And it's like, man, there's nothing they can do to change that. And every time, it explained why every time Rip went back to save his family, when he kept going, further and further back, that's why they kept dying, is because the Time Masters needed that as his drive, just to do everything so that they can manipulate it and make things throughout history play out. And it was just like, man, that's freaking insane. Like, this whole time it was just like, alright, they have guesses on this is how the future can play out and stuff like this. And then we find basically this ultimate device saying, this is how the future will play out. Not like this is a possible thing. This is how it will be. And that's all there is to it. And I thought that was a pretty crazy surprise for all the characters, really. But I certainly enjoyed it. Jax was pretty cool when he went back in time, and he's with Stein, and he's kind of talking with him and stuff. And they have a cool little moment. It wasn't like a big deal, but they had some cool moments where it's like he meets Stein, who hasn't gone through all the missions and stuff like that, and it's kind of a way he kind of gets the chance to thank him early on before he gets back to time, and they do the fusion and everything, which fortunately saves Stein, because I was like, I just don't know how this is going to all play out. But ultimately, we sadly still lost a character, but going into the season finale, they still have to save both Kendra and Carter. I don't know. I don't think Carter was even on that ship. I mean, they show Kendra a bunch. I don't know if Carter was supposed to be, like, on the other side, but I'm pretty sure that was just Savage and Kendra, so maybe he just, like, dropped Carter off somewhere. But it's going to be a crazy season finale for sure. I'm definitely excited for it. It seems like they go back to 2016 again, the little clip where Rip is standing on the Wave Rider. It looks like they're on top of the rooftop that they were on in this episode when it was Jackson Stein in 2016. So I don't know if that's going to be the case, if they're going to go back to 2016 and how all that's going to play out. But I'm really excited for it. This is a crazy episode. Very bittersweet ending because we lost a character, but they did ultimately kind of take back their own destinies. Like, they can't manipulate us now because we've destroyed this. They destroy Time Master Druce in general. A bunch of other Time Masters. I mean, I thought they were going to blow up like that one thing. When it blew up, I was like, okay, that blew up. And then they're flying the whole, it looked like literally the entire Vanishing Point blew up. But apparently it didn't, because I was like, oh, they killed everyone in the Vanishing Point. And then Vandal Savage was on his ship, and he was talking to some other dude. I was like, oh, so they blew up like a giant, whole mega construct, and that still wasn't even the whole thing. I was like, oh, this place is crazy. I didn't know. I thought it was going to be like that little building blew up, and then the whole thing blew up, and then that still wasn't the whole thing. So I don't know if that means they're still going to have people coming after them, although they said they can't help Vandal Savage. I would assume that just meant as far as sending him back and forth through time. But he has his own time ship, so he should be fine in that regard. But I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely looking forward to it. It should be a fun finale. Of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode, though. So please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, least favorite parts. And, of course, whenever any character dies, my question for the episode is, of course, what are your thoughts on that character's death? Like, we lost Snart, and it's like, the weird thing about this show is that losing anyone means we lose like a major character from comic books in general. Because when Captain Cold and Heatwave first show up for Flash, it's like, oh, we have the Rogues, and then we have Snart's sister, who's Gold Glider. So they're a part of like this really big thing. They aren't like, they might seem like minor characters, because I'm sure a lot of people don't know like Heatwave and Captain Cold as much as they would know certain other characters like Reverse Flash or Joker, like really simple, obvious stuff, but they play a really important part in like the DC universe. So, I guess knowing a little bit more about the characters, it's a bigger deal, because like, man, that's a big deal. And in general, like I said, these are obviously all important comic book characters, but I thought it was crazy. I like the way they did it. Of course, when we lose any character, I just hate that we lost the character, but I don't hate the way it was done. It was surprising because of the double sort of sacrifice thing. I was like, oh, that was a nice little twist that I wasn't expecting there. But sad to see him go. I'm definitely excited to see where they take Mick's character because, like I said, I personally felt like, okay, his arc could be done because he went through, being the guy on the team who was like super angry and wanted to, stay back in time, and then seemingly being killed, even though I think we all knew he wasn't, and then coming back as Kronos, and then still, turning back on the side of the team and everything. So I was like, he had a really crazy arc already that could have easily ended in this final episode as his ultimate sacrifice of realizing, I want to be a part of this team. And that would have made total sense if they killed him that way, but they still chose to keep him and, kill off Snart, which it seemed like he still had places to go. So that was really like the main reason it got me. Like, oh, I thought for sure Mick's storyline could have ended, and I would have felt it would have ended in a nice way. Like he, in the end, was like, this is the ultimate sacrifice for me, who went through the craziest arc of being on the team, hating the team, being a full-on villain for the team, like a traitor, then full-on villain when it's revealed that he's Kronos, and all, then going back to the team is like, that could have been his arc, but they kept it going, so I'm excited to see where they go. But I definitely want to know what you guys thought about this one, so please comment below, let me know, and of course, I want to know what you guys want to see for the finale, and like I said, what you guys thought about the unfortunate death of Snart, who, unlike Carter, can't just respawn, so I don't think we'll be seeing him in Season 2 unless they pull off some really crazy stuff. But like I said, I want to know what you guys think about it, and of course, thanks for watching.